Destination Mark.
Hey guys, how's it going? Marcelo here, and there is stuff for Crash 4 It's About Time, footage stuff, and it looks really awesome. Some new things, some small details. I originally didn't know if I wanted to cover this, since everyone else pretty much has, but I figured I'd give my 2 cents on the smaller details and such. So without further ado, let's get started. The footage we'll be looking at is from Press Start Australia, and I'll link the full video down in the description so you can see it without commentary. Now, Lou Studer was interviewed recently, and this area right here, which we've seen before, is actually the 11th dimension, which was mentioned very briefly by Cortex in Crash to Insanity.
Somewhere between the 9th and 11th dimensions lies the mysterious 10th dimension.
Now, it doesn't look as ethereal and mysterious as the 10th dimension, but I still really dig the way this level looks. And right off the bat, the first few seconds of gameplay here, we get to see some awesome platforming stuff. That involves Kapunawa, the Time Mask. Toys for Bob are adding new crates to this game, and they are looking really insane. These crates don't have an official name, so I'm going to call them timed crates, as opposed to time crates, which are used in time trials. These timed crates have a little timer on them, so when you hit the red exclamation crate, they appear for only a limited, really fast amount of time, so you have to use Kapunawa in order to break them all. This ends up leading to some puzzle solving and awesome little challenges later down the road. And also, bonus rounds are back. We can actually see this bonus platform in particular in the very first B-roll footage that came out when the game was first announced. And yes, this game is still early. You can see Crash kind of twitching around as the bonus platform rotates and floats around, but obviously that'll be fixed. Another interesting little piece of detail is that Aku Aku is equipped, but this time around he's hovering around Crash instead of floating around him. And here in this bonus round we get to see a lot of really cool things with the Nitros, aka using Kapunawa to jump on them and then off them before they explode. This to me is a way better usage of Nitros for platforming than what the previous Crash 4, Wrath of Cortex, tried to do with the tiptoeing. This is way more interesting, way more visually pleasing, and way more satisfying. Now we do get that cutscene again of the ship blowing up, but we'll see how that happens later on down the road. Next up we have the Oedipus dimension, in reference to the secret level Oedipus Rex from Crash 3. And in action, it looks really cool. It has nice colors, all the details are really awesome. The dinosaurs have really cool designs. Just all the things going on in the background are really cool to focus on. And we finally get to see what Lonnie Loli does. His power is to phase bits of the world, aka obstacles and crates. This mixed in with the rail grinding makes for some really cool gameplay. The phasing reminds me a bit of a combination of Pinky's abilities from Pac-Man World 3, sort of, but more so the Dweller Mask from Ahead in Time. It's really cool to see the camera panning around and moving from a 3D perspective to a 2D perspective. And as we're in 2D, we get to see the T-Rex that'll end up eventually chasing Crash, notice him, get mad, and storm off, preparing to strike. I like that piece of detail a lot. And then of course, the all too classic chase sequence. Crash has run away from dinosaurs before, but this chase looks absolutely insane. This leads to another literal on-rails chase with a pack of dinosaurs, reminiscent of the chase sequence with the Jeep in Jungle Rumble and Wrath of Cortex. But just how fluid the gameplay is from being on rails to immediately being back on ground and still running away from the dinosaurs is just really cool to look at visually. Mix that in with the dinosaurs with the flat heads from earlier in the level, and the whole world really starts coming together in this chase sequence, which I really like. After that, we get some more tricky platforming, and I think this is really cool. Toys for Bob is not messing around with this game. You can argue that later Crash games, literally 2 onward, started to get kind of quote-unquote easy with the platforming, playing it more safe and doing less risky things like Crash 1 did, but this game seems to kind of find that balance between the tricky platforming from Crash 1 and using Crash's abilities of sliding, body slamming, and everything else from Crash 2 onward. And while we're focusing on this scene here, we do get to see Crash go invincible with Aku Aku, and a nice little piece of detail is that as he's glowing and going invincible, he periodically has this almost molten looking texture to his fur, kinda like Spyro does when he goes invincible in Reignited Trilogy. If that's really what they're going for here, I like that little piece of detail. And listening to Crash's yelps as he drowns in the lava here, that doesn't sound like Jess Harnell. I guess Crash once again has a new voice actor. Unless it is Jess and he's just going for a higher pitch. And lastly, we get the 11th dimension again, but this time from Cortex's perspective. Getting to see his gameplay for the first time since that brief little clip of it in the trailer. Cortex can zap enemies once and turn them into a stone platform he can stand on, and then once more to gelatinize it and make the platform bouncy. It kinda reminds me of Super Mario Sunshine, particularly episode 8 of Rico Harbor, where you can use Yoshi to do something kind of similar. I also like hear how Cortex sings to himself, it's really funny.
On a cold winter's night, have yourself a bite of bandicoot stew.
don't know if that's the cheekiest of references to something cut from Twinsanity, where there's supposed to be a level inside Cortex's mind and the soundtrack was him singing some weird song. If not, the singing by itself is still pretty funny. And here we get a cool little cutscene where we see that Cortex is the one that causes that ship to explode. Also right here, you can hear an inkling of Cortex's theme. The fact that we play up to here as Cortex, watch this cutscene, and then it cuts back to Crash is actually really interesting. So this might mean there might not be whole levels where you play as Cortex, or maybe there still could be, but it's cool to see that there will be levels where you play as Cortex from his perspective when he makes things happen in the world, and then we immediately cut to Crash or Coco, and they have to play out the result, or vice versa. And that's about it. Those are all the little details and references I can find and comparisons I can make, but if you guys notice things that I didn't, feel free to let me know. All in all, this gameplay is awesome, and that means we've seen 3 out of the 4 Quantum masks. We still need to find out who this guy is and see what he can do. But what do you guys think of the footage? Are you hyped to see more? Tell me in the comments down below. I'm Marcelo, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching, and take care.